Oh hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be going over game week preview for game week 10. Yeah, game week 10. And looking at how we got on last week. So our rank at the moment is 14, well, based closer to 15k actually. We had a slight green arrow thanks to a Chris Wood goal in the last game of the game week. I like how the team's lining up. The defense, even though it's been underperforming the past few weeks, is still solid. We've got City, Liverpool, and Arsenal coverage. Arsenal and Liverpool have some difficult fixtures coming up, but they two solid defenses. City haven't been in great form defensively, but they still are a great team who are expected to concede few goals. So Lewis, I don't have much investment because Lewis is so cheap. I really don't mind that at all. Henderson isn't ideal, but the team can't be perfect. In the midfield, we had a bit of luck. We had Rodgers coming in for Saka. So yeah, that Rodgers goal was hard to watch in the moment. But after we saw that Saka was being not even in the squad, it felt quite good to get those points off the bench. Yeah, and a few returns from actually majority of the attackers. Wasn't a huge game week, but because it was terrible for pretty much the whole game, it 43 points was enough for a green arrow. So we moved up about a K around about, and yeah, we're just gonna carry on building on that. Oh wait guys, so the Bukayo Saka replacement is between these two O's. It's Son or Palmer. So basically this decision isn't just between these two players for me because I have my game week 12 wildcard. So this decision actually dictates pretty much how I'm going to go about playing that wildcard, whether I'm going to do it in game week 12 or save it for later on. And we'll have a look at my different transfers and whether I would be able to get to that wildcard I would use in game week 12 with my free transfers coming up. So over the next three, Son obviously has the better fixtures. Um, Palace, who I know how badly they've been defending because I have Henderson. Villa, that high line, usually Son does do quite well against them, and Ipswich obviously is the almost the best game you can get as an attacker at the moment. But then you have Paul Palmer. I was really wanting to stay off of him for these difficult fixtures and then pick him up on the wild card. But I watched that Liverpool game, and Liverpool are the best defense in the league at the moment. But he was still looking. I mean, they kept him quiet. They really did. The midfield, Curtis Jones, the whole system really did keep him quiet as much as they could. But even with that, he was still looking so dangerous, and it made me really scared not to have him for Newcastle United, even Arsenal haven't been defending amazing lately. Um, so Palmer just seems like more dangerous, and even though Son, if you're just using your head, would probably be the best decision for the next three game weeks, Palmer does have some advantages as well. Um, he seems like you just need him in your team more. He just seems a lot more dangerous, maybe. But also, he kind of going for Son now would force your hand on a game week 12 wildcard. Going for Palmer could open the door to maybe saving it until a later date, which we'll look at now. Expected data. It's difficult to read into the expected data because Palmer obviously outperforms um, with the expected data, but as you can see, the goal involvement is on the far right. You can't see the headings there, which I noticed now. And then middle column is expected assists, and column on the left is expected goals. So as you can see, Palmer is outperforming Son. But it's difficult with Son to read into the expected data because he usually overperforms consistently season in, season out. Not usually, he always does. So in these free fixtures, there really is an upside to going for him and then switching to a Palmer on a wild card, which I did have the possibility of doing with my wild card still intact. But I have decided to go with Cole Palmer. As you can see, I will talk about it now with my transfer plans. So basically, if you skip to the last slide, yeah, this screenshot on the right is what my team would look like on a game week 12 wildcard most likely. I really think there is possibility or potential gains to going against Haaland. And if you downgrade that Haaland spot, this is all the things you could do. You could have a power front line with Jackson, Isak, Havertz, a powerful midfield taking punts on the Newcastle boys. The reason I have Newcastle is in here is because their underlying data has been really good in the past few weeks. They've been quite unlucky to be on the wrong end of the results. So also with their fixtures, they don't have Europe, which is quite a big consideration. So they're going to be playing one game a week, okay, over Christmas, 2 games a week, maybe at times. But compared to the other guys, um, you would expect their performance to start picking up as a team because they only have one game to focus on, while other teams have more responsibilities in Europe. Someone like an Aston Villa, um, we don't know how they're going to cope with this new fixture, hectic fixture schedule, because we haven't seen them do it before. So with my transfers, on the left here is game week 9, and I've already made that Cole Palmer transfer. I did it before the price rise, so I have him at 10.8, and I know I'm going to have him on the game week 12 wildcard. So if he bangs in the next game, he's just going to go up and up and up in price, and then it really is going to affect me badly in the future. And the next 3 fixtures, I would be more scared of not having Palmer for this next game, for example, Newcastle, than I would not having Son against Palace. Um, it is extremely possible that Palmer just outperforms everyone over the next few weeks because he is so dangerous. You see, he almost did it against the best defense in the league, Liverpool. He could do it against these 3. Um, yeah, so that's my transfer this week. Then I would be looking to roll until game week 12 because my team is very strong. It really is. I would have to play I'd play Gabriel through a few difficult fixtures, but I don't mind that. We know he's attacking threat. Liverpool would have to play a few difficult fixtures as well, but I don't mind that. My team is set up quite nicely. There's some good rotation in there. McNeil would come in for Rodgers at times. And then game week 12 is where that big shift would happen. And something I really like about this is that I want to back against Haaland, but this is a way of doing it with a safety net behind you. I have that wild card in my back pocket. So I go in game week 12. I have 3 free transfers saved up. I downgrade Haaland to Isak because I really do think it's worth a risk on the Newcastle team going into that busy schedule because of their reduced amount of games not being in Europe. And they're looking like they're picking up. If you go check I posted a video at the start of the week about expected data, and Newcastle is a huge team that was, you can say, unlucky over the past week. They had 2 expected goals against Brighton, especially Isak and Gordon were unlucky not to return, and they are good players. They have a lot of good players in the team, so they are going to make a turn at some point. We know Isak is a very good striker. The numbers are there. If the expected data are there, the returns are going to come because they have done it before. So yeah, then we can bring in Jackson because I think Chelsea fixtures are so amazing and everyone's going to have Palmer. Jackson is actually looking very good. I didn't like him a few game weeks ago, but I've been watching a bit of him and he just does a whole bunch for the team. He expands the game a lot, so he creates a lot of space for Palmer in the middle. And it's almost like Chelsea tactics are to do that for Cole Palmer. Their wingers push out wide. Jackson stretches the defense, creating a lot of space for Palmer in the middle. His finishing in Jackson has really improved as well this season. So I don't mind that as a punt. And that spot would either be Jackson or Havertz. So at that point, I'll have to decide whether I want double Arsenal defense or double Arsenal attack because that Saliba transfer could be someone else. Could be a 4.5, could be someone like Aiden Nori, who I do like the look of as well. And then I can bring in Havertz, and then I have a lot of money to play with as well. So that's also something I am looking at. Depends how the teams get on in the next few game weeks. So that is very similar because then this should be game week 13. So game week 13 is when I'll bring Saka in because the game week 12 they have Nottingham Forest, which I don't see as a very good game. So that is Forest at home, but still Forest have a very good defense. So I don't mind delaying that transfer one more week. And it fits with my plans quite a bit. So this is game week 13, yeah, even though it says game week 12. And as you can see, 12 on the left, so 13 on the left, game week 12 on the right, 1 game week apart, and the team really isn't looking too different. I just don't have Gordon. but a week later I could look to bring in Gordon. So yeah, I've got Palmer. I might still get Wildcard in game week 12, depending on what things are looking like. But this is very doable. It means I'll keep Watkins instead of the ideal Jackson is a Havertz, but that might even be better. Having Watkins, I actually see quite a few people trying to bring Watkins into their team, and that actually made me look at maybe keep Watkins in my team. His fixtures actually aren't that bad. Then I even get Palmer this game week. How many more players do I even need to get the ideal team that I would look at in a wild card? And it's really that not too many differences. The goalkeeper position, that to be fair, is something that I haven't fixed. So that's something I would have to look at this point because we don't have one Henderson long term, unless Palace look like they go through an up, but that hasn't happened. I would want some maybe a bit of a different defense. But double Arsenal and Trent, that's a powerful defensive line. If I do decide to go for a Nori and Havertz rather, instead of Saliba and Jackson, then I could play on Nori for a few game weeks and then look to bring in Konate. Because I do think in the long run, so after that Newcastle game, then we bring in Konate and then Nori just drops to the bench. That would probably be the ideal defense. Gabriel, Trent, and Konate. I think that would be the best defense in the game almost. Maybe with the addition of a City player. But yeah, I do think over the season Liverpool are going to have the defense. If you look at Slot's system, it is very not the system is basically covering the defensive base first and then looking at the attack. So the attack is still free flowing, but it's a lot more based around keeping that defense as a base. So yeah, that's my thoughts, and that's what I'm looking at for my transfer plans coming up in the next few weeks. Oh yeah, guys, the channel is quite small, so please consider subscribing, or else you probably won't see the next videos that get posted. There was a post previously on Tuesday, quite a good video about all the player stats, a summary from the weekend. So go check that out if you haven't. And yeah, see you next week to talk about the Green Arrow.